Hi, everyone, and welcome to our first ABA in Your Home webcast. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the word ABA, this acronym stands for Applied Behavior Analysis. And for simplicity's sake, this refers to a learning theory that focuses on applying the science around how we behave to improve quality of life. So, my name is Sarah Prince, and I'm a behavior analyst with the Ottawa Catholic School Board. And this is the first of 5 webcasts in a Helping Hand ABA in Your Home series. And for today's talk, we're going to talk about how to hold the key. Now, our webcasts are designed to be short and sweet with an emphasis that each one will build on the next. Our hope is that by the end of this series, you and your family will have a small package of ABA strategies that can be used for any home based learning opportunities, whether this focus is school goals or general daily living goals. So, before we start this first talk, I wanted to briefly address the importance of taking care of yourself first as a parent. I often equate this to what flight attendants say before the plane takes off. They stress that you should always put on your own mask in case of emergency before helping others. And this act isn't selfish, it's necessary. As a parent, at any given time during the day, I often find myself in one of 3 states, depending on what's going on. I'm either managing everything on my plate, juggling, but thinking that I'm perfecting the balancing act, or I'm just cleaning up messes. When I'm managing, I have the time and energy to try new strategies to support learning at home with my kids, even if it's as simple as interacting with them, giving them my undivided attention. When I'm balancing, I have some time and effort to do the basics, but nothing new. And then when I feel like I'm just cleaning up messes, at this point, I don't have much time or energy to do anything but just provide the basics for my kids. So there are days where I'm 24/7 cleaning, but then there are also days where I'm balancing for maybe about 30 minutes and then have a good 15 minutes where I'm actually managing. Or I could be in any one of these combinations as the day goes on. So, my point is that your time and energy to do the strategies or suggestions that we have in our webcasts will vary from hour to hour and day to day. But as you move back and forth between these different states, see how you can incorporate some of these strategies to make life a little easier. So, don't feel guilty about what time you have to put forth these strategies or what time you don't have to put forth any of these strategies. These webcasts are supposed to be about stress reducing and not stress inducing. Let's explore how we can help you bring ABA into your home in efforts to help make life a little easier, especially if this includes incorporating school or even just general daily living learning opportunities like learning to do the dishes. So, the best place to start when trying to incorporate ABA into your home is to find what motivates your child or teen. And then figure out ways to hold the key to these motivators. And in ABA, it is so important to find what motivates your child or teen because these are essential in supporting you to teach new skills, improve on current ones, or simply just maintain cooperation to go about doing essential daily tasks like getting dressed in the morning. So, as we go through the upcoming slides, remember that what motivates you may not motivate your child or teen. And a simple way to begin to identify items or activities that motivate your child or teen is to just watch them when they're left to their own devices and note what they do, kind of be a detective. What do they tend to gravitate to each day? Do they usually incorporate Lego at some point during their daily routine? Or are they spending most of their time in their room on their computer? Is using the internet for leisure a daily occurrence? Or what tends to capture their attention the longest? Are they spending many hours video gaming? If so, what types of video games interest them? When your child plays with an item, how does he play with it? Does he like to spin the car wheels? And if so, could items associated with wheels be a motivator? And if you're having a hard time finding motivators, which I often do for even my own kids, observe their behaviors. What does the behavior tell us about their preferences? Do they prefer more visual stimulation, like looking at lights or out the window or rotating objects? And if so, here are some options. Do they prefer more auditory stimulation? Do they enjoy vocalizing or humming or singing? In this case, look around the house for some possible stuff that could be interesting to hear. Or is touch more of a preference? Do they enjoy carrying around their favorite stuffies and so that they can feel that? Or do they like to pet the family dog? And if so, here are some things that they may enjoy. Is your child or teen in constant movement, so bouncing or rocking or climbing or running? Do they enjoy any of these activities? Or is more of an oral motor or smell preference? Or are they more social in nature? And in this case, it may not be the activity or item that they want, as opposed to just having your undivided attention while doing something fun. So, a colleague of mine actually recently mentioned to gain interaction with her teen, they started baking together and then driving around the neighborhood to drop off the baking to her friends' houses who she really missed. So, they got parent attention and they also got their friend attention. Also, keep in mind that these motivators can change daily. So it's good to have a couple or even a bunch of different options that you can cycle through, or better yet, that your teen or child can choose from. I mean, how many of us always choose the same thing when getting something from the vending machine, especially when that's the mother of vending machines? Our next step is to find out how we can hold the key to unlock these motivators. And the goal of this is to switch the access of these motivators from free access, so anytime, anywhere, whenever you want, to under your control. So you hold the key. So that you can give them out based on seeing behaviors that you actually want to increase. For example, oh, you cleaned your room. That's great. Here is the TV remote so you can watch your morning cartoons. Now, I say this, but I'm also very conscious that we can't always be withholding. The most important part about holding the key to motivators is to ensure that we have a good ratio between how much we give versus how much we're asking for from our child or our teen. This helps maintain a positive relationship so you aren't always asking for things, or what my kids would say, Mom, stop nagging. A standard in our field is to ensure a 4-to-1 ratio between giving and withholding. Now, I say this, but I don't always live up to it, even in my own life, and that's okay. Finding a giving and withholding ratio that works for you. Just remember to strive for more giving than withholding. So it may look like this: giving them the remote so that they can watch a show in the morning, which gives you time to shower and other priorities, then make breakfast, even the breakfast of their choice, sit and have breakfast with them, and then ask them if they could do the dishes. And then this can even be followed up with giving them the Wi Fi code for the day. Yeah, you may get this, but that's okay. The goal is to be the giver of all good things. Plan on giving. It's going to come just after this one or couple little things. So, this isn't about depriving the things your child or teen likes. It's about making sure that access to unearned motivators are not freely available. So we're simply looking to make our children and teens aware that access to motivators is always dependent on us, letting them know that we have a system in place that allows us as parents to either give access or take it from moment to moment whenever necessary. And I always like the Calvin and Hobbes comics that lightly highlights this concept in the eyes of a child. And I'll give you a second to read it through. So, in order to avoid power struggles between who holds the key, the best way to do this is to alter your environment. So, this may take time. So, don't do this on days where you're just cleaning up messes 24/7. But when you have the time and effort, see what kind of environmental changes you can do to prevent free access. Setting up the environment so that access is limited from the beginning helps us in scenarios where cooperation is not in our favor. So our teen or child isn't cooperating, and it leads us to feel the need to start taking away privileges. We want to try and use these motivators to influence their choice to cooperate. So they're choosing to follow doing the dishes. If they have time for fun things, if they have all fun things in their environment, it's harder to influence those choices to the dishes. So be a giver, not a taker. Some things we can do to change our environment include putting things up higher on shelves. And Sometimes it's great to have preferred items in clear containers on those shelves so they can see them but not easily access them. How many of you have a hidden treat cupboard? When we can't put things up high, maybe like an exercise trampoline, for instance, we could put it up against a wall so it's just less likely or um, not as easy to access. Another great option, how many of you do toy rotations to keep things interesting? Or have an allowance? That's another method where the money is actually the key to access those motivators, like new online games or a movie to rent on Apple TV. I now want to link these two strategies to a question that I've heard a lot from parents these days. And it's the question of what can I do when I feel like my child or teen's behavior is getting worse during all of this? And without a proper full functional assessment from a behavioral professional, my biggest response is that I feel like this whole situation is just one big setting event, something that kind of casts a storm cloud over our daily life, making the little things just that much harder to tolerate or deal with appropriately. So, in behavior and ABA, what we do when setting events or controlling behavior, we one, reduce expectations. If you want to have a comfortable journey through this, reduce the luggage expectations that you have. So, pick your battles. And then two, increase access to those motivators that we were just looking for. Be the giving tree and give a lot. Unlock those motivators as many times as you can. This will actually help subside all those other stressors that are occurring in the background until we get back to a state of normality. So that's it. And thank you everyone for listening and taking time out of your busy day to join. I tried to keep this as short and sweet as possible, but I hope that there are some useful information in here that can help you on the way to adding a little bit of ABA into your home and making life just a little bit easier. If you want any more information, don't hesitate to ask us or follow us on Twitter at OCSBT. So coming up next in our webcast series is Jen and Marilyn, who will be discussing how to find realistic goals that can fit into your everyday family routine. So thanks again for joining and take care, everyone.